This is Don't Break the Ice. It's a classic game of skill originally produced by Schaper in 1968. Now today I have a 1970 edition from Schaper that I'm going to compare to the most recent version I could get a hold of. This is a 2016 edition from Hasbro. Now I purchased this right off the shelf here in 2025 and it looked to be the newest one. So this should be our best comparison of original to current. So let's have a look and see what changed in over 45 years in the game Don't Break the Ice. Let's get started with the box art, starting with this 1970 Schaper. This is awesome. First off, I want to point out that there's a carry handle and it has a lift-off top, but on the top end. So it's got ample room for storage, plenty of space for all the parts, but I really love this little carry handle. It's got a great representation of the game on front, and this is my clue that I am missing one of obviously what was 4 mallets that came with the game originally. I did actually get an extra cube, so they thought ahead and included an extra ice cube. So they were prepared for kids to lose parts. So again, points to Schaper here. But anyway, we can see the red mallet on display that I wish I had for this set. 2 kids enjoying the game, and I love the little tagline here. The game begins, the ice is thin, be careful or you may go in. Ooh. When we flip it over, here's something that I love. The rules. The rules are printed right on the back of the box, so you're not gonna lose anything. I mean, this is great. You can carry the game around. It's just having the lid on the top like this and everything. Gravity's gonna keep it shut. I mean, I know that sounds silly, but you can store it on end, slide it right into a shelf. All the parts are going to stay right there. This is great. I really like it. So this is a great game box. It's not one of those where the top lid just flips closed and that can pop open and spill out all of your parts. Everything is, and even the bottom is one of these little pop together pieces so it can hold the weight of everything. Very nice, very nice. So Schaper had some very functional packaging at this time. I got to give it to him there. Oh, and I almost overlooked here. I like this font on the top here, Don't Break the Ice. Very nice, very recognizable there. So, and the color scheme too, and the integration of red, white, and blue, along with yellow in Iceman and in the mallet. I mean, it's very bright and colorful, ties together nicely. Now let's move on to the 2016 Hasbro edition of Don't Break the Ice. Right away, we can see this box stands a little bit taller and appears to be, about the same width, but a little bit wider, So right away, it's very eye-catching with its size and display. I love this cartoon of Philip the Penguin right out front. The titling for Don't Break the Ice is great. I mean, I gotta say, when I'm stacking these boxes right against each other, this one's the one that looks more exciting and more inviting. So very nice upgrade. They've even got 2 little kids in front having a good time playing the game. When you flip it over, you have a larger image of the 2 kids having a good time playing Don't Break the Ice. A couple, standard fare for board games, some blurbs and little close-up pictures of the elements of the game. Now this one, the box flips open at the top. Not a huge fan, but I mean, the parts are big enough that you're not really going to lose them. It's just that these flip tops over time can start to wear out and they don't stay closed too well. So, but for a game with this large of pieces, I'm not too worried about storage with that. That being said, this box could stand to be a little bit deeper. When you remove the legs and you start putting everything in the box, it all fits fine, but I had to shake the box around a little bit to try to get everything to settle enough that I could close it. So it was a little bit frustrating and could use I would say even just an extra ½ inch of depth would have helped all of the parts float around in the box a little bit easier. I'm not worried about anything breaking if the parts are floating around in the box, but more that everything can settle and it'll all fit correctly. So I will say it's adequate for the game. It'll hold everything nicely. The art is great. I prefer the original Schaper box for storage versus the Hasbro box for storage, but as far as visual appeal, I gotta say, they have a really nice package for the new Don't Break the Ice. So let's move on to the game itself, starting with this 1970 edition of Don't Break the Ice from Schaper. Right away, let's look at these mallets because we can see there's a huge difference between the modern and the original. These are actually just wooden dowel rods that are painted. I love it when I get wood elements like dice in my games, but this is next level. Now we actually have these little mallets here, and that weight and flexibility of the wood, I really do think adds something to the gameplay. Now, I have 3 of them here. And it's obvious from the photo in the front of the package, like I said before, clearly a red one is pictured. So I'm sure when this originally came out, you got 4 mallets, but they're all very neat. And you don't really need more than one to play the game, even with multiple people. It's nice to not have to hand them off, but come on, share once in a while, share. All right, let's move some of this off to the side. Now, right away, what we're going to see here with this edition of Don't Break the Ice, we have this blue platform here. I'm going to remove Iceman as carefully as I can. Unfortunately, the stool that he sits on in this version that I got is a little beat up, so he doesn't sit on his own when I take him off of the ice. But we're going to do this for demonstration purposes so that you can see that the ice is a series of small, approximately 1 inch, 2 centimeter cubes that are fit in using these little fins here on the plastic frame to put pressure on them. And in the center is one larger piece, and that's where Iceman, as he's called, will sit. So he's ice fishing out on thin ice, hoping that you're not going to make him inevitably fall through. On this edition, the legs actually can be attached and detached quite easily. And though they fold so that they fold flat, I notice when you try to put them in the box, the legs are just a little bit too wide to fit in the box when they're attached to the board in either direction. So you do have to disassemble it, which got me kind of puzzling as to why they folded, until I realized that it is far easier to reset the board when you fold the legs in and you're pushing the smooth surfaces in, rather than taking the cubes and trying to push them in from the rear side of the board here. So there was some forethought to that design that had nothing to do with storage and everything to do with gameplay. Now moving on to Iceman. So Iceman is the fella who has faith that he's not going to fall through the ice and it's misplaced. He's like I said, he comes with a little stool that clips onto the larger ice cube in the center of the map. Now, in this 1970 edition, Iceman was a 2-piece plastic figurine, so we got his body and his little head here. I'm assuming that they just did that for artistic purposes so that there is some contrast there. He looks nice, and thankfully there's enough of his stool that when it clips in, he does sit nicely when I'm playing this game. So functional, and at some point I'll have to see if I can either source an original replacement or 3D print a replacement if none is available for that stool. Seems like a very small component to have to recreate for this, so I'm not very bothered. Now let's get to the gameplay itself. This is the fun part. So this game is for 2 or more players. There's really no limit. It's a skill game where you take turns trying to tap out one of these cubes of ice in hopes of not making Iceman fall through the ice, which of course then you lose the game. So we're gonna do a little demo here. Oh boy. Which one do I wanna do? Right in the corner. Let's. There we go. Now, early on, it's really easy to remove ice chunks, and I was probably being a little bit more cautious than I need to be. You can really go in there and give her the business if you want to, but as you start removing blocks of ice, you really don't want to be too firm with these. And for instance, as you can see, don't want Iceman falling here. As you can see, if I hit relatively firmly, more than one block can begin to dislodge. So that's why in my earlier shots there, I was just trying to lightly, gently tap it so that you don't knock them all over. And it's surprising how many of these blocks you can knock out, and it become and then you start getting loose pieces. You start getting parts that start shifting and floating, and it starts getting kind of nerve-wracking because some of them pound out easier than others as you're progressing the game. Now, I don't want too many of them piling up there, because if he falls, you know, and this is kind of interesting because is he going to hold with just the pressure from the corner? I don't know. Oh, no. Oh, I hit Iceman. Iceman, forgive me. This is why I need to repair his stool for him. Oh, how horrible. He didn't make it. There we go. Oh, I have to attach his head. It looks fine, right? He looks fine. The head's on straight, right? Looks fine. He looks fine. He's a good-looking Iceman. Oh, no, he fell again. All center. So clearly I need to repair my Iceman, but you get the premise of the game. Players take turns knocking out increasingly difficult ice cubes, hoping to not be the one who makes Iceman fall into the frozen lake. Now, honestly, it's a very simple concept that really in practice is quite a bit of fun. So I do enjoy the game. However, I will say the subject matter of having a person fall through the ice, that's a little scary. And that's why I do like the modern version. They have replaced him with Philip the Penguin. Philip the Penguin. Oh, my friend Philip. I like Philip. The nice thing about Philip the Penguin is if he falls through the ice, nothing happens. He goes swimming, maybe even gets a bite to eat. Maybe he'll find a nice halibut under there. I love the new ice cubes on the 2016 edition. When we go right over into this, there's a whole lot of detail and these little cracks and greebling in the front that just add some extra personality. I also like the sculpting on the side of the board to make it look more like an iceberg, and the legs just pop right in. There's no retention clips or anything. They just fit nice and snugly, pressure fit. So this sits very stable, and we have our little mallets. Now these, it's interesting because they are a hair lighter than the wood ones, but roughly the same size, just plastic. I gotta say, we gotta see how the tapping experience goes. See, I feel like I'm not they are definitely it's funny how the tap gets louder and sharper as you get as you get closer to dislodging the cube. These definitely fit much tighter. I like that I can do that, and Philip the Penguin doesn't fall over like Iceman or Iceman's stool. Oh, he has a soft stool. There we go. Got another one. Let's see how many we can get. See how dramatic this is compared to the original. Now I do notice one thing is Philip overhangs his little ice cube quite a bit on some of these spots. Like, I enjoy the sculpt, don't get me wrong, the sculpt is amazing. He's really cute. It's very simple, but it's just a cute little penguin guy here, but just a little bit of him overhangs, so when I'm tapping there, I got to be careful that I'm not hitting him. And boy, yeah. Ooh. How tightly everything fits requires you to really, give it does require you to tap pretty firmly to get everything to come apart here. But I mean, this is a new set. So this is a new set versus an old set. So I'm sure that age and plastic fatigue have a lot to do with it. I mean, just trying to reset this one here. However, I will say there's no need for folding legs. This is pretty easy to just flip right over and pop these right back in. Now, again, one thing that I did notice is in the 2016 edition of Don't Break the Ice, look how easy that was to reset. I would have, well, let's have a look here. So the 2016 edition came with the exact amount of ice cubes I need. The Schaper edition from 1970 did come with one extra ice cube, like I said earlier. So they were really anticipating that kids might lose parts, and hey, good on them. I mean, they lost a mallet. So let's get these all put together here. And there's actually, this is a good thing to point out. I do notice that right here on the original design, you're missing one of the pressure fins. So on these outer lines, I guess, of cubes, these outer pillars of cubes, on the end of each one, you can kind of see it here, the little fin that holds pressure on it is shorter on the end of each one that's around the periphery of the ice patch. So that's fascinating. I wonder if that is to allow just the right amount of give, because what I will say is on this 1970 edition, the ice cubes fit in a little bit easier and playing the game feels a little bit riskier, I guess. The smoothness of these plastic cubes, I mean, really, when we get into it, the 2016 edition, they're smooth and nice. They're almost the same size, a little different greebling. I bet you could almost interchange these on the game board itself. So I will say, just judging from that, one thing that you can say is the modern one did not get shrunk down at all. And with the quality of plastic, I would say it's highly unfair to even visit the notion that this is a cheaper, lower quality version. I'm gonna assert right now, because I'll give it some of the games that I've reviewed from Hasbro lately, like the 2022 edition of Grape Escape, or the more recent 2021 edition of Candyland that I looked at. Not that it's more recent than 2022, just a more recent episode. Both of those, the games themselves had suffered a great decline in quality of craftsmanship. And this is a scenario where I can say Hasbro, their version of Don't Break the Ice, right now as I stack it up against 1970 edition, which should be, that's within 2 years of the original release of the game. So this is a really excellent representation of what the original Don't Break the Ice would have looked like. Very, very close. And I gotta say, production-wise, I think the quality of the Hasbro edition is phenomenal. It's just great. Everything's really solid. I wish the game box was as nicely designed as the Schaper game box. That would be probably my biggest complaint, is simply the additional storage space required to get this to fit in more hassle-free. So, I mean, putting the game away can be a bit frustrating with the Hasbro edition, because you've just got this one narrow flip top. You've got to pull, this frame is all one piece. You pull these 4 legs out, and then you end up setting the frame in there. I wouldn't want to put it away loaded, I guess is my thing. Is I feel like if I put it away with all of the ice pieces packed in, that would eventually cause the plastic to form to that dimension, and then you wouldn't have the pressure holding the ice cubes in. So I wouldn't want to store it that way. I'd want to store the pieces loose. And in that instance, what you end up doing is putting part of the frame in the box and then trying to funnel all the parts in to this open area and then haphazardly slide it in. So that extra little bit, that extra ½ inch that they could add in depth would really make a huge difference in game storage here. Now, let's have a look at the rules on the Hasbro edition, because we've already seen on the Schaper edition, the rules are right on the back of the box. They're right on the back of the box. If you've been watching the show at all, you know I love games that print the rules on the back of the box, because you won't lose them. Now, we have a quarter fold, full color print with nice sealed glossy paper. This is an adequate rule book. I mean, to be completely honest, this is the first time I even opened this. I took a brief glance at what the materials were for the rule book when I opened the game to play. And honestly, Don't Break the Ice is so super easy to play. I don't know why you would even really worry about this too much. So the funny thing is half of the content on the back page, so we have Let's Play. The rules are actually just this tiny little piece here. And then, as I see right now, half of this is just facts about Philip, the imaginary penguin. The imaginary, as Benedict Cumberbatch would say, penguin on here. This penguin named Philip, his favorite game is freeze tag. Favorite food is frozen pizzas. You're killing me here, Iceman. Now, this is... This is not horribly needed, so I'm not too worried. But will it stand the test of time? Of course. Whenever you have these papers that fold in quarters, though, you will notice some wear and tear right in the middle there where that quarter fold meets. And so I'm not a big fan. I prefer like a booklet fold out, or, you know, something that's like a tri-fold, something that doesn't have those little corner folds. But realistically, you lose. Everybody knows how to play Don't Break the Ice. It takes very little intuition to figure this out just by looking at it. So I don't think that the rules wearing out is a tragedy with this game, albeit I will say when I'm comparing these two head to head, the packaging and the rules for the Schaper game, head and shoulders above the packaging and the rules for the Hasbro game as far as practicality. When it comes to actually like eye-catching game art, and oh, I flipped this around even, so we gotta make sure that we have the game art for it. But when it comes to eye-catching game art, yeah, you got these kids up front having a good time. This somehow feels, you know, when you see a game that's being marketed as educational and it doesn't look like it has a huge fun factor. I mean, we all know Don't Break the Ice is a lot of fun, but this certainly doesn't catch the eye and scream fun to me quite as much as my little cartoon, my wild cartoon penguin guy going, whoa, man, don't break the ice. He's a little bit more eye-catching and I think a little bit more appealing to the target audience. So I will say that the game box art on the 2016 edition definitely wins against the art on the 1970 edition, but the practicality of the packaging definitely wins out in 1970. Also the rules. When we get to the games themselves, like I said before, generous amounts of plastic were used, lots of detail on the, I love the greebling on the ice. The ice blocks, the sculpt on the side of the board, the mallets, though light, I mean, you can definitely put some pressure behind them. They definitely hit very nicely. So yeah, everything about the function is great. I would say there's no reason to go after a vintage model of Don't Break the Ice unless you have an affectation for that particular year, if it's the one that you grew up with. Quality-wise, 100%. 100% go with the 2016 Hasbro. This is a glowing review for this game. I'm going to just throw it out there that I am so pleased to see that this one was so incredibly well made. I'm incredibly happy with this game. So as far as updates go, just wonderful. Just wonderful. This pleases the couch. I like this one. So Don't Break the Ice. What do you think? Did you play Don't Break the Ice? Do you love the game? What do you think about the modern updates? Do you prefer the more plain Jane look of the original? I mean, this is a very straightforward design, albeit it's a little scarier to have a guy falling through the ice as opposed to a penguin that can handle it. So tell me, what do you think? Don't Break the Ice. Comment below, let me know. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.